Hi, this is Sandy with SDS Digital and the Accord Sequarallel. This tutorial will cover the TRAX tracker, in particular some of the editor functions like adding notes, copy and paste, and modifying basic note parameters. First, we need to add a TRAX quick box to enter the editor. The first TRAX tracker letter will also be added to the playlist. Holding on the quick box will enter a TRAX tracker letter selector where you can choose a TRAX sequence to edit and name sequences. Turn on Edit Name, then click on the tracker sequence you want to name. It's a good idea to name them for reference, but it does take a moment to do. Names can be useful if you have several sequences under one TRAX quick box. Scroll off the end to save it. Now turn off Edit Name and click the sequence letter to enter the editor. The TRAX tracker grid is 4 lanes wide and up to 64 steps. Click to toggle horizontal or vertical cursor movement. If you scroll off the right side, you will enter the TRAX editor quick boxes. So first let's add some notes. While not playing, adding and editing notes will audition. First the whole step, then the single note. That's why we're hearing the 2 notes. If the sequence was playing, it would just add the notes to the sequence and play them when the head comes around. I mostly use the playing method myself. Now I have added 4 notes into the first 8 steps. Let's play them. So there are 16 steps and the rest are empty. Rather than manually adding more notes, the copy-paste function can be used. Turn on Copy and set Fill to the range of steps you want to copy, which is 8 in this case. This range can be varied once the steps are highlighted too. Now scroll down to step 9 to paste them. There. The paste can be any size though, so let's select and scroll up to 4 steps and paste those first 4 steps into lane 2 over and over. Paste will automatically step to the following step after a paste, so it's quick. I could have pasted the 8 steps over the entire sequence size by expanding the fill size up like this. Now they're exactly the same as the notes are in lane 1. I'll repaste the groups of 4 steps again. Now the 3rd lane will get yet another copy of the first 16 steps. Select for paste, expand to 16 steps, and done. Once paste is not on and fill is still at 16, selecting all of these notes in the 3rd lane lets you transpose the whole lot, up or down. So I'll leave it there for now and do the 2nd lane too. A little trick to save the sequence as it is, in case it needs to be recalled, is to turn the copy on and then off. This will copy the grid as it is, so the recall quick box can be used to bring it back to this point, which I'll do in a minute. So a very flexible modifier in the pop-up is random. The level of randomness can be applied to pretty much any other modifier. With fill set at 16 and scrolling to the leftmost column, the entire grid can be highlighted to apply randomness to. This seldom comes out well, but can be used with other modifiers like scale, or modifiers that can tolerate a lot of randomness. Notice how the randomness follows the octave range of the notes, so they're not entirely random. So let's recall the grid to the point where I hit the copy button to get our lovely sequence back. It's a pretty useful function as it lets experiments be done without consequences. But once the TRAX editor is exited, the copy is erased for good. So randomness works much nicer offsetting stuff like note levels, lengths, and delays. Let's try some note length randomization. The initial setting has some bearing of the final result, as you can see here. With CV outputs, the lengths are much more noticeable. Random is set to max 9, but can be less for lower variance. Setting skip to 4 will only modify every fourth step's notes. Now let's recall the grid and try randomizing note delays. This will get messy with random set so high, but let's do it anyway. Without random turned on, one could skip every second step and just delay those, a sort of longer swing effect. Of course, one could just randomize a single lane's delays, which might come in handy when used with note effects bundles. Now we'll modify some levels. This parameter makes the most sense with randomization as it almost humanizes the sequence. Again, the initial values have some bearing on the randomized result. I'll turn off random just to demonstrate using fill and skip with levels. I have found that using odd skips like 3 or 5 can really add to a sequence. So I'll set the initial levels all lower, so the accented steps stick out more. As we're editing, these changes are permanent, so can be re-edited later if desired. If you have been reading the user manual, then you already know what the shift function does, but if not, here's an explanation. Shift will move notes in the selected range up or down, with the ends rolling back to the top or bottom, depending on the direction. Any parameter can be shifted too, as you can see here. Not super exciting, so let's just shift some notes around. Shift also works with skip, scaling, and even node effects designations. Scaling is next, while node effects is covered in a different tutorial. I'll copy and paste to the fourth lane for the last modifier, scaling. With scaling, 4 generic scales and 4 user customized scales are available to quantize all selected notes to. The user customized scales are across all trackers. The more notes are adjusted by scrolling up and down, the more they will fall into different scales as they are being modified each time. Randomizing may move notes to a different scale note, but maybe not. A single lane adjusted will always quantize to the scale of that step, but if all scales are selected, any step without a node in lane 1 won't quantize to the scale. It's always a good idea to do a copy toggle before scaling in any case. Scale root setting defaults to lane 1, but can be set to any note under the scale quick box. That will also be in a future video. Check out this video for more on TRAX editor scaling and the retro sequencer MIDI CC step control method. I hope you have enjoyed this first tutorial video on the TRAX tracker feature in the Accord Sequarallel. Until next time, I'm Sandy Sims. Keep on patching.